Good morning, students. Welcome to your English literature class. Our topic for today is Poem 3 in Unit 3. You are old, Father William. Let us discuss the objectives first. By the end of this video, you will be able to listen, read, and comprehend a poem, recite the poem with suitable stress and intonation, and relate the poem to real-life situations. Students, before we start, let us discuss the new words of the poem. The first word is supple, which means bending and moving easily. It is flexible. Ointment means cream. Eel means bone which is slightly raised. Shilling. It is a monetary unit in Kenya and it is rupees 2 in India. Limbs means arms and legs of a person. Moving on to the word meanings of the poem. Incessantly means constantly. Somersault means an acrobatic movement in which the body rolls end over end, making a complete revolution. Locks means the hair on the head. Soot means hard waxy fat found in the body of sheep. Let us proceed further. Students, this poem is a conversation between a young man and Father William in which the youth questions the old man about his odd behavior. Father William explains why he keeps standing on his head, why he turned a back somersault, and how he managed to eat a whole goose bones and all. But when a young man asks so many questions, the feisty old man replies, "Be off or I'll kick you downstairs." Now students, let us read the poem. You are old, Father William. You are old, Father William, the young man said, and your hair has become very white, and yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right? In my youth, Father William replied to his son, I feared it might injure the brain, but now that I am perfectly sure I have none, why I do it again and again? You are old, said the youth, as I mentioned before, and you have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turned a back somersault in at a door? Pray, what is the reason for that? In my youth, said the sage, as he shook his grey locks, I kept all my limbs very supple by the use of this ointment, 1 shilling a box. Allow me to sell you a couple. You are old, said the youth, and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than suit. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it? In my youth, said his father, I took it to the law and argued each case with my wife, and the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life. You are old, said the youth. One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as every, yet you balanced an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever? I have answered 3 questions, and that is enough, said his father. Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off, or I'll kick you downstairs. Now, students, we will discuss the rhyme scheme and literary devices of the poem, and side by side, I will give you the explanation stanza-wise. So the rhyme scheme of the poem is A, B, A, B. What is the reason? The last word of the first line has a similar sound with the last word of the third line. Set, head. They are making same sound. Similarly, the last word of the second line is making a similar sound with the last word of the last line. White, right. So it is B, B. So the rhyme scheme is A, B, A, B. See students, you are old. This phrase is repeated many times in the poem. So this is a repetition. Look at the third line of the poem. Yet you incessantly stand on your head. See here, Y is repeated 3 times in this line. So it is an alliteration. So in this stanza, the speaker states that Father William is old and that he has white hair. He asks him why he constantly stands on his head. In my youth, Father William replied to his son, I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why I do it again and again? See students, in my youth. This is again repetition because many times in my youth this phrase is repeated. So it is repetition. Again and again. See, in the last line of the second stanza, again and again, A is repeated in the same line. So again, it is an alliteration. So in stanza number 2, we learn that the questioner is Father William, son. Father William's answer to the question in the first stanza is that when he was younger, he thought he might hurt his brain if he stood on his head. But now he knows he has no brain, so he does it repeatedly. Let us move forward. You are old, said the youth, as I mentioned before, and you have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turned a back somersault in at the door. Pray, what is the reason for that? See, children, you are old. This is repetition, and yet you. This is alliteration as Y is repeated. So in this stanza, the son repeats his statement that Father William is old, excessively fat. Adds to it the statement that he is extremely fat and asks why his father is still doing gymnastics. In my youth, said the sage, as he shook his grey locks, I kept all my limbs very supple. By the use of this ointment, 1 shilling a box. Allow me to sell you a couple. Here, children, look at the word meanings. Supple means flexible. Ointment means cream. Shilling is a British coin. Here, in my youth, this is repetition, as this phrase is also repeated a number of times in the poem. So here in this stanza, the father replies that when he was younger, he used a cream that kept his arms and legs flexible and offers to sell his son a couple of boxes of the cream. You are old, said the youth, and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than suit. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it? Here in these lines, students, the son repeats once again his statement that Father William is old and adds to it the statement that his father's teeth and jaws are too feeble, too weak to eat anything except fat. Then he asks his father how he was able to finish all the goose they ate at dinner, including the tough parts which usually are not eaten. Let us move forward to stanza number 6 of the poem. In my youth, said his father, I took it to the law and argued each case with my wife. and the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw, he lasted the rest of my life. Students, in my youth, this is repetition. In the second line, A is repeated, so it is alliteration. So in this stanza, Father William replies that he had been a lawyer when he making about himself by saying he was younger and that far from being weak, his jaws were that he uses his strong jaws to exercise by arguing all of his law cases twice. Once for talk, not to eat, practice with his wife, and once before the court. He does not mention eating, but emphasizes focus that the fact that he used his arms, jaws for effective talking. He used his jaws for the effective talking here. Let us come to the next stanza. You are old, said the youth. One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as every. Yet you balanced an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever? Students, the meaning of the word eel is enhanced bone. And the literary devices in this stanza are you are old. This is repetition. Yet you. This is alliteration as Y is repeated. As steady as every. It is simile because one thing is compared with the other with the use of the word as. So, in this stanza, the young man once again points out that his father is old and that his eyesight should be weak by now. He asks his father how he balances an eel on the end of his nose and how he got to be so smart. I have answered 3 questions and that is enough, said his father. Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off or I'll kick you downstairs. So here, Father William says that 3 questions are enough for him to answer and criticizes his son for giving himself ears or being self-important and conceited. He says he does not have time to listen to his son's nonsense and tells him to leave or he will kick him downstairs. So students, I hope this poem is clear to everybody. Your homework is you have to read the lines and you have to answer the questions that are given here. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.